Happy New Year, and welcome back to the Here's Something Visual Vlogs. As you've probably guessed by now, I'm trying something a little bit new. Basically, one of the things that I got with some of my Christmas money was some photographic backdrops, just so that I wasn't using a bed sheet if I wanted to mask out the rest of the flat. And as well as having standard plain black and white backdrops, the one I got came with a green screen. So I figured I'd see how that works out. Although something's a bit missing. Oh, no, that's not much better. Let's try something close to how it usually looks. And that looks close enough. Fantastic. I think this time I want to talk a little bit about Crunchyroll, one of the other anime streaming services available in the UK, and probably the best one available in the UK, at least in terms of the service that it offers. You know, yes, it's established, so it's been around for several years, so it has a decent amount of platforms that the apps are available on. You can get it on both Xbox platforms, PlayStation 3, 4, and Vita, Apple TV, both incarnations, as far as I remember. The Roku set-top box, and one or two other set-top boxes. So that's a lot of coverage, as well as your usual mobile apps and the website platform. Um, it also has a really good, it has a proper queue. You can put all the shows that you're watching into it, and it'll remember what episode you're up to. It'll also remember where you're up to in the episode. Um, Streaming quality is pretty good. But as long as you got good broadband, and as long as well, I guess as long as you're near enough to one of the decent nodes on their on the content delivery network that they use. But as a general rule, the streaming for Crunchyroll is actually really quite good. And they have HD again. As long as you got decent bandwidth and it's a decent time of the day, and the network's not overloaded. Yeah, the HD looks pretty good. So yeah, as a general rule, they're probably the best offering that we've got here in the UK at the moment. Problem that I and one or two other people think at the moment is that outside the US and Canada, they don't seem to provide good value for money. Is the problem. In the terms of what you're getting, and therefore in the terms of what Crunchyroll themselves are actually providing, regardless of where you are in the world, and you're paying roughly the same for the premium memberships here, you get simulcasts on the week of Japanese broadcasts rather than a week later. You get shows in HD where available, older catalogue shows that were before high definition, probably going to be standard def. That's quite understandable. You get, well, there's premium access to the, premium members forum. There's enhanced customer support if you've got problems. So, you've got a decent amount of actual service that you get for your money. Where it gets complicated is the perception of value for money. Because as I said, regardless of where you are in the world, you're more or less paying the same price, give or take a little bit for, fluctuations in price and, the exchange rates and stuff like that. Obviously, them being an American company, they do tend to focus on, where they can get the American rights for. Or at least when they try to get rights everywhere, America usually tends to be the stopping point. It's like that's the one that they want. If they can get more than that, fantastic. If they can't get America, there's a chance that they're probably not going to bother. Um, just because it is, it's their home base, it is their primary audience. There are exceptions. There are some shows where they do have stuff, say in Europe, the non-speak English speaking areas, that they just can't get the English language rights for, but other areas do get them through Crunchyroll. There are one or two shows that we get here in the UK that aren't available in the American lineup. But as a general rule, we tend to get a subsection. We will get what they can get the regional rights for in whatever region you happen to live in. Here in the UK, that tends to be limited by a handful of factors. It's a combination of whether the international rights are being licensed by geographical location or by language, and any sort of combination of the two depends on whether or not they have. Well, basically, they need the English-speaking European rights to be able to show it here. Sometimes they can't get the English-speaking rights for Europe. Sometimes they can't get the European rights because someone else has got all of the English-speaking rights. And if the English language rights have gone to Funimation in America, they are a competitor. So even in a non-competitor area, they're not going to cooperate very often. So yeah, and then there's the things where especially for back catalogue stuff that they've had an awful lot of in the past few months, a lot of the time those will come courtesy of their licensing partners. Somebody will have the home and streaming distribution rights, and they only do home video releases. So they will then kind of go, oh, we've got the rights to stream. Oh, we sometimes partner with Crunchyroll. We're going to use Crunchyroll. And then those of us in the rest of the world go, but that show's cool. Problem is, Crunchyroll don't have a deal with whoever, if anybody, has the regional rights for those areas. And then there's Japanese companies like Toei who have really, really weird ways of carving up their rights. Yeah, I think that's a rant of its own for another time. But here's the problem. Yes, we're getting the same actual level of service, regardless of where we are. The problem is that if you're in the UK, or if you're in parts of Europe, or Latin America, or God knows where, if you're outside of the US and Canada, you will have access to a much smaller catalogue of shows, but you're paying the same amount per month. The service you're getting is the same. What you can access through that service is less. So from what they're actually providing, Crunchyroll are they're not getting more out of us just because we're outside of US and Canada. The money that comes from us goes towards, the infrastructure costs and, for the licensing of stuff that's actually in our regions. I think it's something like, there's some sort of, a little bit of what you watch is how some of your membership fee is split up. So obviously you're not really paying for the shows that you can't watch in your area. You are literally paying for the shows that you watch. But there's still the perception that we pay more, we get less. And this is the perception that I think Crunchyroll is struggling to deal with. It gets brought up pretty much every season, especially in the past season, just because of the sheer amount of catalogue titles that were US and America only. And then there was the very, very highly anticipated Digimon Adventure Try, which was basically made by the aforementioned Toei. Like I said, another rant for another time, but yeah, they're very particular in how they do things in Europe. So yeah, to quite a lot of rather vocal, rather ticked off non-American customers. And they just don't seem to know how to deal with that. Because, there are things that they could do better. They could tailor, say the way their advertising emails work, the way stuff on the website works, so that you don't have a whole, you have to watch this, you absolutely have to watch this, and you can watch it here on Crunchyroll. And then you scroll after about 3 or 4 paragraphs worth of text and go, only available in the US and Canada. Or available everywhere except the corner of the world where you are. And it's like you're already hyped up by that point. That is something that they do have control over, and they just don't want to. There are things that they could do. They could try to more tailor the way the emails go out. They could try to more tailor the way things are filtered or at least displayed on the website. But they seem to come over as saying that this is just more effort than they really want to put in. And all it does is it just tends to make the non-American audience feel really undervalued. Because it's not just we don't have access to the same stuff. Whether we like it or not, that's the way licensing works. It sucks, but we're stuck with it. There isn't anything we can do about that. There isn't anything Crunchyroll can do about that. But they can do something about, how they do their PR. They can work a little bit better on stuff like that. They can have special offers through their store where the discounts aren't either American only or completely wiped out by international shipping. They can have competitions where, again, it's open to people anywhere in the world because it isn't limited to, where they can ship the prizes to. They can maybe try to partner a little bit more with some of the local some of the local home video distributors to increase some of the library for specific regions. I mean, fine, we won't get everything that America gets, but maybe the UK can get stuff that's UK only, and France can get stuff that's France only, and Latin America only, and etc., etc., etc. They could do that. But if they are working towards that, they're not letting it be known. And yes, I know business stuff, a lot of the time it's all behind closed doors. But here's the problem that I think all companies have with that. Your business decisions and your contract negotiations and all that kind of stuff that can't be talked about until it's finalised goes on behind closed doors. All of your PR is enhanced or destroyed by what your company is seen to do in public. If you're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to try to do something for one section of the market, but the only thing that they ever see is being neglected, that doesn't help. I don't know what they can do about that, really, but at least they can try to do things. Seem a little bit more apologetic when they can't get stuff. Try to get stuff special for the various other regions. Try to customize it so that, okay, I like to know what's available everywhere personally, but it would be nice to say if there was a setting that you could either filter out news stories that aren't for your region, or at least have them flagged up differently. So if if they're saying this show is now available, you can decide, if it's got some kind of flag somewhere that says what regions it's available in, and of course, whether or not you can see any episodes depends on what region they detect you as being in. So the technology is there. Use that same thing to say that maybe you can filter out news stories based on that. Or have them, put on a grey background, so at least you know that something's there elsewhere, but you already know not to get excited about it before you've even read it. Because that's the problem. Yes, it's still disappointing if something's not available in your region, but it's more disappointing if you've just read 3 paragraphs worth of hype first. That they can fix. But that they don't seem to want to fix. Still, sometimes it just can't be helped. Ah, well, until next time, see ya.